Recorded Books and One-Click Digital present The Fierce Urgency of Now, Lyndon Johnson, Congress, and the Battle for the Great Society, by Julian E. Zelizer, narrated by Andrew Garman. This book opens with the following words of Martin Luther King, Jr., spoken on the 28th of August, 1963, at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. We have also come to this hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. And now, the fierce urgency of now.
Chapter 1. The Challenges of a Liberal Presidency. Lyndon Johnson hated being vice president. He was at heart a legislator who had been relegated to the sidelines of legislation. For almost 3 years, he had watched John F. Kennedy fumble most of the big domestic issues of the day, either because the president was unwilling to take on the toughest challenges of the moment, or because he was too afraid of the political fallout, or because he knew he lacked the ability to win the legislative battles he faced on Capitol Hill. At the time of Kennedy's death, most of his major domestic initiatives, including civil rights, a tax cut, federal assistance for education, and hospital insurance for the elderly, were stalled in Congress or hadn't yet been introduced there. Kennedy and his advisers had made a conscious decision to keep Lyndon Johnson out of their inner circle, despite his extensive experience on Capitol Hill, for fear that his well-known thirst for power would cause problems for the president. At 4 a.m. on November 23, 1963, the day after Kennedy's assassination gave him the presidency, Johnson reclined on his bed, his top advisers arrayed around him for an impromptu meeting. He mapped out a grand vision for his team. The new president told Jack Valenti, Bill Moyers, and Cliff Carter, with relish and resolve, according to Valenti, "I'm going to get Kennedy's tax cut out of the Senate Finance Committee, and we're going to get this economy humming again. Then I'm going to pass Kennedy's Civil Rights Bill, which has been hung up too long in the Congress, and I'm going to pass it without changing a single comma or a word. After that, we'll pass legislation that allows everyone anywhere in this country to vote, with all the barriers down. And that's not all. We're going to get a law that says every boy and girl in this country, no matter how poor, or the color of their skin, or the region they come from, is going to be able to get all the education they can take by loan, scholarship, or grant right from the federal government." After pausing to catch his breath, almost as if exhausted by his own ambitions, the president concluded, "And I aim to pass Harry Truman's medical insurance bill that got nowhere before." Jack Valenti's recollection of that moment perfectly portrays the Lyndon Johnson who had suddenly become the nation's leader. He was a creature of Congress, a legislator by character and long experience, who was determined to push through a transformative body of laws that would constitute nothing less than a second New Deal. Though many liberals had long doubted that Johnson was anything but a Southern racist conservative who sometimes pretended to be one of them, he was, when he became President of the United States, truly determined to expand the role of the federal government in domestic life far beyond what his hero Franklin Roosevelt had accomplished. Johnson had started in politics as a New Deal liberal, and over the years he had grown ever more determined to deal with issues FDR had ignored, and on which Johnson himself had been ambivalent at best during his own political career, most notably civil rights and health care. He wanted to use the presidency to build legislative majorities behind the ideas that liberals had been discussing and deliberating, but not enacting into law for more than a decade. Lyndon Johnson's vision of a presidency that would spearhead major liberal legislation faced enormous obstacles, however. Historians have often failed to understand how the
Sample complete. Ready to continue?